Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast, special morning show to recap the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft. I'll go over all 31 picks and give out grades and some discussion on each pick. All right, number one, the Carolina Panthers from the Chicago Bears. Bryce Young, quarterback, Alabama, A+ pick. We knew this was the pick. We should have known the second they traded up, because a lot of people thought it was a lock that it was C.J. Stroud. So that was a good little smokescreen that they pulled off for a little bit. And then it got leaked that it was going to be Bryce, but it always should have been Bryce. And that is going to excite the Panthers fan base, their new owner, and he's the one worth trading up for. Number two, the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud, quarterback, Ohio State. Talk about the best smokescreen ever, the Houston Texans. Everyone and their mother thought it was going to be one of the other quarterbacks, probably Will Levis, or even Will Anderson, or Tyree Wilson. But good job by the Houston Texans for pulling off a great smokescreen. A+ is my grade for them. Not just because of the smokescreen they pulled off, because they got the quarterback that they've lacked over the past several years. Number three, the Houston Texans trade up as they give up a lot for the number 3 pick from the Arizona Cardinals. They take Will Anderson, the edge rusher from Alabama. This is another A+ pick. Yeah, they did give up a lot, but you trade up to get the best player in the draft. That's the reality of the situation. And I know people will say, oh, you don't move up to get a franchise-changing edge rusher, you move up to get a franchise quarterback, but different circumstances when you're the best guy in the draft, the bold with it, and that's Will Anderson. So, way to go for the Texans, and they're not the joke of the NFL anymore, to their credit. Number 4, the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson, quarterback, Florida. Credit to myself for hitting Richardson, third quarterback taken at 6-1. I give the Colts an A. Anthony Richardson, high ceiling, low floor. Like I said, high variance, and they pulled off a nice little smokescreen too, because it looked like that they liked Stroud or Levis, and they ended up going with Richardson. So they get the young quarterback that they hope to be their guy. Number 5, the Seattle Seahawks from the Denver Broncos. Devon Witherspoon, cornerback, Illinois. This pick caught me by surprise. With Tyree Wilson and Jalen Carter still on the board. I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I gave it an A-, but I just think that Seattle was going to go pass rush rather than secondary. And the minus comes from the fact that there are 2 better players on the board that were greater needs. But the letter's still an A because Witherspoon was my 6th ranked player in the draft. Number 6, the Arizona Cardinals from the Los Angeles Rams via the Detroit Lions. So they they move back and then come back up, if that makes sense. And they took Paris Johnson, the offensive tackle out of Ohio State. A lot of people like him. Arizona, to its credit, gets extra draft capital from Houston. The fact that they traded out of that pick tells me that they're tanking next season and trying to go for the USC quarterback, Caleb Williams. So this pick still gets an A because they had a need at the tackle position. They have one of the worst rosters in football, and they just got to go with help at big-time key positions. Number 7, the Las Vegas Raiders. Tyree Wilson, defensive end, Texas Tech. And oh, by the way, the Cardinals don't get the plus because they could have just stayed at 3 and took Will Anderson. But at the same time, I don't blame them for trading back and getting all those assets. Number 7, Las Vegas Raiders, Tyree Wilson, defensive end, Texas Tech. A+. Wilson was thought out to go second, and you get him at 7. I know there's some medical stuff, but Vegas needed pass rush help in the worst way. And getting someone that I had 5 on my big board and was thought out to go second in this draft, I think is a big-time hit for Josh McDaniels and the Raiders. So I give this pick an A+. He and Max Crosby together would be something. 8, the Atlanta Falcons. Bijan Robinson, running back, Texas. Bijan Robinson, I think, is going to be a very good pro. I just don't think he's worth the number 8 overall pick to a team that's rebuilding. I'm giving this a C. The reason why it's not an F is because I had Bijan 11th on my big board. And that's pretty good. There are some people that had Bijan 2nd on their big board. But I had him 11th. But the reason why this is a C is because the Atlanta Falcons should be rebuilding, not making picks to help them win. Or that they're fool's gold. They're literally fooling themselves and thinking that Desmond Ridder is this great quarterback and we're going to get all these sexy offensive players and Kyle Pitts and Drake London and now Bijan Robinson. Meanwhile, the defense has several holes on it. Your offensive line could use some help. And you take a running back at 8 overall and you're a team that hasn't made the playoffs in a while? Come on. This is every bit as bad as them taking Pitts 2 years ago. And you could even argue as bad as the Giants taking Saquon Barkley in 2018, now looking back. Cowboys Ezekiel Elliott, at least the Cowboys were in contention for a lot of those years with Ezekiel Elliott, to be fair to Dallas. I know a lot of that has to do with Dak and the offensive line, but it was worth it for Dallas to take Zeke. You could make a case because of that great offensive line they had. And it's funny because at the time, they made that pick to help try to get Tony Romo to the Super Bowl. But that never worked out and ended up being Dak because Tony got hurt and the rest was history there. But I think that Bijan, like I said, Bijan Robinson's going to be a very good pro. But I just think that the Atlanta Falcons had other needs to address. Number 9, the Philadelphia Eagles trade up from 10, as this is the Carolina's pick via Chicago. Jalen Carter, defensive tackle, Georgia, A+. The Eagles only move up one spot to get Carter and don't give up much in the process. Good on them. Good on Philly. And it's funny because, not to get ahead of ourselves, but a lot of Georgia players. A lot of Georgia players on the defensive line. They're like the Philadelphia Bulldogs instead of the Philadelphia Eagles. But nevertheless, fantastic pick for Philly. But if Philly took Bijan Robinson at 7, they wouldn't have gotten a C. Maybe they would have gotten like a B+ or maybe even an A- if you could talk me into it, because they're close to winning a Super Bowl. They should have won the Super Bowl last year. Not that running back's a need for them either, but that offense would have gotten a whole lot scarier. And they would have, I think, became the team to beat in the NFL if they took him, unlike Atlanta. 10, the Chicago Bears from the New Orleans Saints via Philadelphia Eagles, so they trade down one spot, and they take Darnell Wright, the offensive tackle from Tennessee. I give this one a B. There are better players for the Bears to take on the board. They could have went with Peter Skoronski. They could have went with Broderick Jones. They could have took Christian Gonzalez. There's a couple guys that they could have taken. And I like Darnell Wright. I just don't think he's worth the top 10 pick in the draft. So, give the pick a B, a need pick. He'll be a good pro, but they're better linemen on the board. Number 11, the Tennessee Titans. Peter Skoronski, offensive tackle, guard, Northwestern. I give this an A. I'm debating on putting the plus next to it. So the Titans go with the safe bet tackle prospect over the quarterback. So Will Levis obviously fell out of the first round. Reports of a foot injury. So maybe the Titans take Levis in round 2, but Skoronski, I think, is the best offensive lineman in the whole draft. He can play tackle and guard. He was an excellent player at Northwestern. All Big Ten team player. And looks like, unless they take Levis or Hendon Hooker, that they're going to run it back with Tannehill. So, very interesting. And I think Skoronski is just a monster on the offensive line. So, good pick for Tennessee. Number 12, the Detroit Lions from the Cleveland Browns via Houston Texans, Arizona Cardinals. Jahmyr Gibbs, running back, Alabama. I'm sorry. I had high hopes for the Lions in this draft. They had a lot of needs to take care of. And Jahmyr Gibbs is no Bijan. This pick's an F. I'm sorry. Jahmyr Gibbs is not worth the first half of the first round pick. Maybe the tail end of the first round, if not round 2. I had them as a round 2 graded running back. But that's insane. Insane that they made this pick. Who do you think he is? Christian McCaffrey? No. You had needs on defense to address. And if you're wanted to take a running back, then you could have stayed at 6 and took Bijan Robinson. Yeah, I would have probably given you like a C because he took a running back at 6, but he's way better than Jahmyr Gibbs. Come on. Listen, I think Gibbs will be in play for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I do. But he's not worth the 12th pick in the draft. Sorry. Number 13, the Green Bay Packers from the New York Jets. Lucas Van Ness, defensive end, Iowa. I'm going to give this pick a C+. Van Ness is a round 2 graded player too. Obviously, Green Bay needs to take some chances on some guys because they're all of a sudden a rebuild. But this isn't as bad as the Lions taking the second-ranked running back at 12 overall. So, I give this pick a C+. As I think Van Ness will be we'll see if he's decent, but sometimes you just got to take chances. How about this? The Pittsburgh Steelers move up from 17 to 14. The leapfrog the Jets. The pick came from the New England Patriots, and they take Broderick Jones, the offensive tackle out of Georgia, A+. Good job on them by leapfrogging the Jets. And getting a tackle that the Jets loved. Broderick was terrific against SEC defenders. And that's a good sign. And Pittsburgh needs protection for Kenny Pickett. So, good on Pittsburgh for leapfrogging the Jets to get the tackle. Number 15, the New York Jets from the Green Bay Packers. Will McDonald IV, defensive end, Iowa State. I'm giving this pick a D. Another round 2 graded player. You could have gone with Myles Murphy, and it would have been a good pick. You could have gone with Jackson Smith and Jigba. That could have been a good pick. And no, they go with a guy that should have been picked in the 30s. It's like Aaron Rodgers is still on Green Bay, and they're still picking pass rushers and interior defensive linemen in the first round, right? And listen, maybe Will McDonald will be a good pro, but I just don't think he was worth 15. They get a D. Number 16, the Washington Commanders. Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback, Mississippi State. I'm giving this one a C. Listen, I know they addressed the need, but there are better cornerbacks on the board, most notably Christian Gonzalez, Deonte Banks, Joey Porter Jr. I know Forbes was a hot name, but because there are 3 better cornerbacks on the board on my board, they get a C. 17, the New England Patriots from the Green Bay Packers. From the Pittsburgh Steelers. Christian Gonzalez, cornerback, Oregon. Bill Belichick does it again, gets an A+. You trade back and still get Christian Gonzalez. That's like vintage Bill Belichick there. All the credit in the world. And this is another team that needs high-end talent. Gonzalez was my 7th-ranked player on my big board. Good job by Bill Belichick and company for getting a Gonzalez. Number 18, the Detroit Lions. Jack Campbell, linebacker, Iowa. I'm going to give this pick a D. Like I said, very disappointing first round for the Lions. Listen, there are other needs to address. Kalijah Kancey would have been a better pick. Any of the corners would have been better. Michael Mayer would have been better. Dalton Kincaid even would have been better. Myles Murphy, Brian Brees, Nolan Smith. Insane. listen, Jack Campbell could end up being a good pro, but to me, he's a second-round player. Very disappointing night for the team that a lot of people think is going to win the NFC North and the Detroit Lions. So I give that pick a D. 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kalijah Kancey, defensive tackle, Pittsburgh. I'm going to give this pick a B. The Bucs are in the Packers situation a little bit because they lost the Hall of Fame quarterback and now they're rebuilding. But Kancey, I had rated as the 26th player on my big board. I had him as a first-round pick. So, Tampa could have gone with a trade down or take Will Levis. Like I said, Kancey's not a bad player. And I think that they got some much-needed youth in the interior of their defense. So the pick's a B. Not the worst grade in the world. Number 20, the Seattle Seahawks. Jackson Smith and Jigba, wide receiver, Ohio State. This is getting an A+. Yes, you have Lockett and you have Metcalf. But adding Smith and Jigba to that offense, I think the Seahawks want to prove to everybody that Geno Smith is worth the contract. That's why they made the pick. And I don't know if Geno Smith will repeat the same year. So that's why I don't know if Seattle was planning on taking a quarterback, but they didn't have to. But Smith and Jigba was a great pick. It'll stretch the field for them. He can play anywhere. And those three receivers together in that offense, they're going to be a popular bet to win the NFC West next year. Number 21, Los Angeles Chargers. Quentin Johnson, wide receiver, TCU. A lot of people didn't like this pick. I disagree. I give this pick an A+. I had Quentin Johnson as 15th on my big board. Chargers needed a receiver to go with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. And Mike Williams is always hurt. So this is similar. I don't want to say it's similar to Seattle, but the Chargers, I felt, needed another offensive weapon in their arsenal. And Johnston, I should say, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams is a great threesome at receiver. 22, the Baltimore Ravens. Zay Flowers, wide receiver, Boston College. I give the pick an A. As we know, the Baltimore Ravens had a wonderful day yesterday. We'll get into Lamar stuff on the regular show. But I think this is a really good pick. They needed a receiver, and he's speed. He runs good routes. And I think he could be their number one guy next year. I really do. Number 23, the Minnesota Vikings. Jordan Addison, wide receiver, USC. A+. Yes, they had a need at corner. I understand that. But that's a great pick that they pulled off. I had Addison 16th on my big board. They needed a receiver to help replace the production that Adam Thielen leaves behind. So I give the pick an A+. Maybe they move up and get Porter or one of the other corners that are still left. Number 24, the New York Giants from the Jacksonville Jaguars. They move up one spot, and they take Deonte Banks, the corner out of Maryland. Give the pick an A. I had Banks 24th on my big board. They needed a corner. I don't know if jumping a couple of these teams were necessary, but maybe they're worried about somebody jumping them to get them, which has been the theme of the night, like Pittsburgh jumping the Jets to get the tackle. Eagles moving up to get Carter. So, and then they were bit in the past. So, Giants get the corner. They give up a 5th and a 7th. They had a lot of picks in this year's draft anyway, but really, really solid player, Deonte Banks. So, and like I said, they had a need at corner. I give this pick an A. 25, the Buffalo Bills from the New York Giants via the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dalton Kincaid, tight end, Utah. So Buffalo moves up a couple spots to grab Kincaid. They try to jump the Cowboys. And I'm giving him a B+. I think Kincaid's going to be a good pro. I had him as the last first round graded player on my big board. But Michael Mayer was still on the board. He's better than Dalton Kincaid. Unless there's injury stuff with Mayer that we don't know about or something weird, then that's understandable. But where's that report? I don't see it. So, Kincaid, I think, is going to be a good pro, but he's not the best at his position. So, the Bills, to me, get a B+. 26, the Dallas Cowboys take Mozzie Smith, the defensive tackle out of Michigan. They get a B. Michael Mayer, still on the board, and Jerry loves him. I'm surprised that they went with Mozzie. Yeah, that was a need position. I understand that, but there are better D tackles on the board. Brian Breesy was still on the board. So, because they're better at that position on the board, they get a B. 27, the Jacksonville Jaguars trade back. Twice. This pick comes from the Buffalo Bills. They go with Antoine Harrison, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma. I give this pick a B+. It was a need pick. I had Harrison 35 on the big board, so it goes 8 spots. Not a bad differential. They have the need because Robinson's going to get suspended, so I understand. They good on Jacksonville for getting assets in the process, so that's where the plus comes from. And the combination of that and with the need pick. So B+ is the grade there. 28, the Cincinnati Bengals. Myles Murphy, defensive end, Clemson, A+. Myles Murphy falls all the way back in Cincinnati, who can absolutely win the Super Bowl next season. Goes out and gets a pass rusher that was allowed to go in the top 10 not long ago. And I had Murphy 18th on my big board. Pretty good. 29, the New Orleans Saints from the San Francisco 49ers via Denver Broncos and Miami Dolphins and Denver Broncos. Brian Brees, defensive tackle, Clemson. The pick gets an A. The reason why it's not the plus is because I feel like edge was more of a larger need, but I think Cincinnati took the guy that they wanted to take. But Breesy's still a really good pick. Good on the Saints for getting him when he drops this far. I had Brees 32nd on my big board. So, like, 3 spots apart from 29. So they get the A. Number 30, the Philadelphia Eagles. Nolan Smith, edge rusher, Georgia. Again, with the Eagles taking these Georgia pass rushers, it's so funny. The Philadelphia Bulldogs, they get an A for this pick. A+, I may add. Nolan Smith was thought out to go as high as 8th to the Falcons, and he drops to 30. I Nolan Smith, 25th on my big board. And the Eagles grab him at 30. Him and Jalen Carter together, the Eagles are absolutely stacked. So great pick by Philly. And 31, the Kansas City Chiefs, the hosts of the draft, your Super Bowl champs, go with Felix Anudike-Uzomah, the edge rusher from Kansas State. I'm gonna give him a B. I think they could have gone with others. They could have gone with Jalen Hyatt. I think that would have been a better choice. I understand the need, but they could have traded back and let somebody come up and pass the Steelers for Joey Porter Jr. maybe. Or someone's trying to move up for a quarterback. But I think the Chiefs had Brian Branch. That would have been an excellent pick. Joey Porter would have been a great pick. Kelee Ringo would have been a good pick. I just think there are greater needs on this roster. I know edge rush was a need, but from 31 or the 31st pick to the 42nd on my big board is a pretty steep dip. And I had one edge rusher ahead of Anudike-Uzomah on my big board that was still available, and that was B.J. Ojulari out of LSU. Well, I'm not saying it's a bad pick. They go with the Kansas City kid, which I think matters to the Chiefs too. So, and I think it's round 2 talent with the 31st pick. So that's why the grade's a B. All right, so the big board. My best guy left is Michael Mayer, the tight end of Notre Dame. And then Brian Branch out of Alabama, the safety. Will Levis, the quarterback out of Kentucky, which an injury was apparently why he wasn't picked last night. Joey Porter, the defensive back from Penn State. Jalen Hyatt, the wide receiver from Tennessee. And Kelee Ringo, the corner from Georgia, are my remaining 6 first-round graded players left. So we'll see where these players land. But if you told me at gunpoint who's going to be the 32nd pick tomorrow night, I'm going to say it's Joey Porter Jr. Or I should say tonight. That would be my at gunpoint guess. I'm going to check the lines. See if there's a bet on that on FanDuel that I can make. But Porter's probably the favorite, you would think. Unless there's a trade that we are unaware of. Oh, wow. So, team to draft Levis, Hooker, and Meyer are on the board. And then position of Browns, Rams, Dolphins, Niners picks, and Mr. Irrelevant. Maybe FanDuel will open a market later. I'm going to check DraftKings very quickly and see if they have so So Will Levis' team. 49ers first round, or first pick. Rams first pick. Browns first pick. Dolphins first pick. So we don't have any of like those yet. So that's really it for the 2013 NFL Draft Round 1 recap. I'll go on to my regular show in a couple of moments. And I hope you guys enjoyed the draft last night.